I've never been a believer in batten down the hatches. You have to go out and face the music. When that wind comes at you, you just look at it straight and you make it work. And you carry on investing, you carry on training. You know, what a fantastic time to do it.
Hello and welcome to this MTD podcast. This is, I suppose, could be classed as a bit of a special podcast today because I'm here at DMG MORI in Coventry, their UK headquarters. I'm joined by two gentlemen, one from MTDCNC, which is Mr. Mark Dedman, and the Managing Director of DMG MORI here in the UK, Mr. Steve Finn. For those that don't know, I'm Paul Jones, the host of today's show and the Managing Director of MTDCNC.com. Firstly, gents, welcome to this podcast. Steve, let's start with you. How are you keeping? Not seen you since the last live show, and of course that's what we're going to be talking about as well today.
Yeah, absolutely, and thanks for remarking being a gentleman all this time. It's been tough for everybody, and you know, there's lots of new things have come out of this. Manufacturing is succeeding. There is definitely an upturn. And it's not about what's happening at DMG MORI. You know, you're looking at the demand on iron ore. That's gone up significantly in the last few weeks. And that's a good barometer of actually our industry because it's metal. You know, and whether we're cutting it, making machines, or cutting it on machines.
And I think I'm excited about our next live event, which is Technology Excellence from DMG MORI, which is happening tomorrow, which is the 23rd of February and the 24th of February. We're going to be here in Coventry. There's going to be 2 days of cracking technology, as the headline states, but also we're going to be talking, Steve, in detail about some of the machines and the ex-demo machines that you've actually got here in Coventry, aren't we? That's the biggest, I suppose at this point I should say welcome Mark to the show as well. This is a bit out of kilter, but are you keeping well?
Well, just because I'm a Chelsea supporter, it doesn't mean that you should exclude, you know. Yeah.
I did come branding my Arsenal top today, even though we lost.
Well, I was looking back in the diary actually. Obviously, you know how intense these live events are, Paul, to put them all together with our team. But I mean, I'm really looking forward to it over the next couple of days. So, but it was in Fronton this time last year, nearly. I think about 10 days ago, Steve.
Yeah, it was. And we missed that because it's a great showcase for us. It can demonstrate, you know, hundreds of our machines across quite a big span, and also looking at the assembly lines, the production in general. It's a very interesting visit for customers. We'll be there next year.
We will, and we have to be. I mean, I do think going back to that event, it was probably one of the last overseas trips we did as a company almost 12 months ago. And gee whiz, I'm desperate to, you know, get back on a plane again and go and do some of those things. Because I think however good you are as a company at trying to promote your technology, you know, via other means, engineers do still love to come and touch and feel the kit, don't they? So we will get back to that. But in the meantime, things have changed the way we promote, and I'm sure that events like we're going to be participating in tomorrow and on Wednesday, and from the success of the one we did actually back in the last quarter of 2020, is definitely these live events, Steve. They are a good way of getting the message across, aren't they?
They're a good way for us from an economical point of view, but I think more importantly for a customer, it allows him to watch it when he's ready to fit his schedule. So, you know, I've already spoken to a number of people who won't be able to join us live tomorrow. But I said, don't worry, it's going to be on YouTube and you'll be able to watch it. Oh, great, fantastic. And then they can pick the bits that are necessary because the product range for us is so wide. And it's not just about machine tools. It's about, you know, cutting machine tools, additive and subtractive. It's about the finance. It's about the software. It's all about the digital solutions that we can offer. And, of course, everything that encompasses that as well. So, you know, it's a big story. And not everybody wants to sit there and watch the whole lot. So they can watch their 10-minute slot, which is really good for them. And they can do it in the comfort and the safety of their own home at the moment.
Yeah, and it's a very important point, Steve. I think it does give them the flexibility to pick and choose what they want. So let's talk about what is going to be coming up in the next 2 days. You can join us live on YouTube and LinkedIn and Facebook from on the 23rd of February, which is tomorrow as we record this podcast, starting at 10:30 and running through till just after lunch. We'll be covering various themes on day one, which we'll go through, and then we're doing the same on day two, but we'll have slightly different a different theme today too, which we'll go through in detail on this podcast. So let's pick up with day one. Mark, with yourself, it's going to be me and you and Steve firstly talking through an introduction, and I'm assuming that will be a bit about how business is and how things are for DMG MORI at the moment. And it might be a good interlude now to maybe touch on a couple of these points, Steve, because I've got some notes here that say 43% of business last year for you was new business, wasn't it? Why do you think that was?
Well, it wasn't happening by accident, that's for sure. And it's something that we've been working on, I guess, over the last 9 or 10 years since DMG MORI came together as one company. You know, we had a lot of things to put into place, which we did. We've had to train a lot of people, which we have, and employ a lot of people, which we did. So I think this is a long story to go on. It's not something that has happened just because of COVID, and it's not by mistake. So yes, our business was down last year. Our business was down by about 16% across the board, which actually I'm very pleased with. Certainly, you know, if someone said to you this time last year, you're going to go through a shocking time, the world is, and you're going to be down 16%, you snatch your arm off, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
You know, so I was very pleased with the results that we had. And we've seen take up, particularly January and this month, enormous. Absolutely has gone. I mean, people are, as you said, are expressing this as a coiled spring. It has gone. You know, so it's really, really good for us. We're still maintaining around 40% new business. And I think that's something that is the marketplace. The marketplace is now believing in us. They can see that we can deliver. There's stability. You know, I'm coming up to 39 years service next month. And, you know, I believe in the customer and the customer first. And that has always come through.
You don't look old enough, Steve.
I don't, thank you very much. I had my eyes tested, actually, on Saturday.
Maybe I need mine done too.
Well, maybe you do, but he did actually have to ask my age. He said, I'm just checking. And I went, no. So anyway, I think that, you know, that we've got a lot to offer in various stages. The finance has been good for us. The DMG MORI Finance, which will feature heavily over the next 2 days. It's unique. Nobody in the world has got anything like it. Nobody can get near it because it's ours. It's our own book. We can write the rules and regulations, and for sure we have to comply with certain rules and regulations. But we can look at customers in a very different way. And one of the videos you did recently on Bedford CNC, there's a classic example. Yeah. Small one-man band. He wasn't even thinking of investing, couldn't invest, didn't have the money to invest. We have made it all viable.
I mean, he's never bought a new machine in his life, to be fair. He's never had a new machine. This is his first new machine, and he wouldn't have had a new machine unless he was offered that commercial flexibility.
But the downside now is that he's forgotten how to put a sales pitch together because he's basically got extra capacity. All the work's going mainly on the DMG MORI. It's a CTX, isn't it?
CTX 800.
And I think he's got to revisit how to pitch for new work because the capacity's there now.
Well, the good thing about Andy Seuss is I worked at WH Allen's, and there was a podcast a couple of weeks ago where we did with him. He worked there as well, but he was a few years ahead of me in his time, and we were sort of waxing lyrical about how the industry has changed and how you do have to get more out of your machines these days than you used to because, you know, the demand and the competitiveness. But
he did buy the machine based on watching our live event last year here at DMG MORI UK, which and that's the power of digital media, because I remember when we launched or helped launch the M1, and I think within 5 minutes of actually the show stopping, you got a call from one of your sales guys who literally was on the M1 to go and sell the first machine. So the power of what we do is perfect, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it gets to areas that we couldn't ordinarily get to, and particularly, you know, coming back to your question there, what's changed? This has changed. People are listening to these kind of podcasts, watching stuff on their phones, on their tablets, a lot more. We have a very, very big message to send, and sometimes it's too big. So it does take it into bite-sized lumps, and you can look after it. So Andy, at Bedford CNC, absolute classic. We probably wouldn't have been knocking on his door. But just to reiterate, he's got a machine shop. He's got 5 days work every week, constantly. Puts a new machine in, suddenly does that 5 days work in 2 days. That's where his extra capacities come from. But it's not a big worry to him because it still balances the books, but he's got that capacity now.
Yeah, it's good.
What I found from talking to him, and I know we're sort of going off the curve a bit here, we'll come back on to what's going to happen at the event, but I think it's an interesting point is I was surprised when I spoke to him that he only has in front of him a few days' work at any point. I said, what's your order book look like for March, April? He's like, March, April? He says, I only know what I've got for the next 5 or 6 days. And he was saying, I wouldn't have bought this machine. I bought this machine because it took the risk out of me worrying about not only making certain repayments, but also worrying about work. He says, now I don't have to necessarily worry about the commercial side as much as I would have done if I'd bought and had to pay in the same way as most on a new machine. I can forget that now, and now I can just still carry on and concentrate on where I'm getting my work from. And I can begin to build that up because I've got this capacity. So it's interesting how hand-to-mouth some of these businesses are and how much support they do need and what a difference it can make to them. So I do think it's probably something we may talk about on the show as well.
One thing that I think has changed, since the two companies, DMG MORI or DMG and MORI coming together, is that perception. I think a lot of engineers out there, I've always bought that type of machine, that brand, but now with the finance, with new business, and the portfolio of over 150 different machines. Added to that, you've got automation as well as additive. You've got so many products to actually offer customers now that the perception has changed, Steve, hasn't it?
Very much so, but the important thing is not only do we have to deliver that from the factories, we have to deliver the right resources from personnel from the UK to make sure that we support it correctly. And that we've done a nice job on. We've had a good, and we still have a good apprentice program, bring these people through, and we've got some great guys that are actually out there demonstrating, training, installing machines as of today. So that has, but coming back to your question, visibility for everyone is greatly reduced. And I think that's something that we've had problems with. You're working from 1 month to the next. For sure, you can see projects on the go, but it wasn't like it was 2 or 3 years ago, where you could start predicting stuff a little bit more further down the line. That's gone. Yeah. Those days are gone. But I was talking actually yesterday to my next door neighbour, she's fairly senior in the NHS, and they are very, very concerned about bringing their business back online to how it was, 18 months ago. So all the operations that got to go through of various things. And I said, well, interestingly enough, we supply into that industry and we're seeing it pick up significantly in the last sort of 3 or 4 months on investment, particularly in plant, equipment and, these hips, all that kind of thing. So, yeah, it ripples. Manufacturing ripples through the whole of the world. Yeah,
100%. It definitely does. And coming back on to this event, and for those, again, tuned into this podcast, we're shooting this the day before, which is the 22nd of February, and the live events are happening on the 23rd and 24th. Now, if you're listening to this past these dates and the events already happened, then, of course, please visit our YouTube channel, youtube.com/MTDCNC, where you'll be able to watch everything that's happened on the 23rd and 24th of February. Equally, it'll be on LinkedIn and across all of our other social platforms. So for day one, I'm just going to go through what's going to be happening on day one and then day two in one, and then maybe we can just pick areas out of this. So we've got the usual introduction first thing in the morning with yourself, Steve. Then we're going into a milling overview at 10:45, where we're going to have Tim Greenhall and Kevin Buck on the sofa with myself and Mark. We're going to be talking about the milling machine range on the milling side, some 64 machines, 3, 4, 5 axis that we'll be covering in quite a short space of time, just to give you a really nice overview of what's possible on the milling side. Then at 11:10, we'll be joined by Martin Adams, and Dane Beresford, where we'll be talking about the portfolio of turning, which again, 68 machines I've got here in the portfolio of all axes, which we'll be covering during that piece. Now, both of those sections are going to be around about 20 minutes in length, just over 20 minutes in length, so a lot to pack in. We'll then be talking about the additive side with Terry Turner, powder beds and hybrids, and then around about lunchtime, 12 o'clock, we'll be touching on the DMG MORI aspects with John Adams. John's a great guy. He joined us on the last event as well. Lots to learn there. And then we're going to have one thing we've touched on already today on this podcast, an overview of the finance side, which has been so successful for you. That's day one. Day two has a similar running order in terms of what we're going to be talking about on the times perspective. So we'll have our introduction. Then at 10:45, we'll be talking about milling. And we're going to be specifically focusing here on automation with the DMU 50, DMU 75, and the NMV 3000, which is a cracking machine, which we did talk a lot about on the last live too. 11:10, it will be turning automation on the NLX 2500 and the CLX 450. That will be with Martin Adams and Dane Beresford again, and then we will touch on the additives again with Terry, and then we'll be talking Net Service Messenger with John Adams and Charlie Lucas. Lindsay and Mark will be doing that, and then we'll finish off again tomorrow with a discussion on finance, whatever machine you're purchasing from DMG MORI. So that gives us a quick overview of what's going to be happening in the coming 2 days. And as I say, if you're listening to this past the event, then you can always go on our YouTube channel and see what happened. Steve, out of all these areas, what most excites you about what we're going to be talking about?
My staff, actually. I know that seems a bit strange, but no, I'm extremely proud of my staff to sit in front of a camera and go live. And we proved that they could do this on the last event that we did back in October. And I got a comment, I think you got the comment, Mark, back from one of my competitors going, wow, is that the guys that are working for Steve? And they are. I'm very proud of what they've done. They put a lot of effort into it, and they want to talk to the customer base. They want to show the customers what we have. They're very proud of it. But on saying that as well, we have an awful lot of stock that we've purposely brought in for this, hopefully this launch of the new world that we're in. And I've got something in the region of 40-odd machines, which is quite a big investment. And there's the standard NLX 2500, 10-inch tie chuck-in lathe with ASBAR capacity, driven tool, Y-axis subspindle, DMU 75, which is a 5-axis vertical, very popular machine, giving you about 500 square capacity. The NMV 3000, we have a few of them in stock. That's a really special machine. It's got a big tool magazine, it's got a 5-axis application, turning on it as well, and auto loading, so a 34 pallet system. So it's a really good lights out.
That's the one that's going to be set behind us, isn't it?
That's going to be set behind us, yeah.
Fabulous machine, isn't it?
It's probably one of our most robust, most reliable, most accurate 5-axis machines that we have within the product range. But it's a really neat footprint for actually what it can output. It's very, very good.
I've been to one of your customers, actually. I better not mention them, but I think they've got a bank of 4. Mm-hmm. Who I'm probably talking about, but very high profile companies, and to see these machines actually running and the parts that are coming out of them, it's pretty high tech.
Yeah, it's very, 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 very capable machine. And then right at the other end of the scale, a couple of manual machines. So we do a manual teach mill and a manual teach lathe, particularly for colleges, schools, universities, that kind of thing. So we've got them in the showroom as well. So we're really going all the way through the whole portfolio with additive and everything else. So all these machines are coming in stock. They're all inflation proof. So, if I was sitting here doing an economics program, I'm sure that inflation is going to rise in the next few months, over the next year as well. Just by the law of economics, it will happen. But these are inflation proof, so they're good prices. Ready for immediate delivery. We've got the people, we've got the transport in place and everything else. So that's something that I want my guys to promote this next 2 days.
I must admit, sorry, Paul. Right. When I came to talk to you about this event, Steve, and you said to me, look, I want this to be a platform for sales. It worked last October in reference to selling machines, but I've never seen so many machines in your showroom, still wrapped up in a box, basically. Yep. and obviously I can see why now.
Commitment to UK manufacturing. It's simple. I have a great belief in our product, a great belief in UK manufacturing. I believe that these machines will be sold, they will be installed and giving customers benefit, and we'll bring some more coming back in as well. But my colleagues in Italy and France, Spain, these are the 3 big countries in Europe, Germany, doing really well. Good business at the moment.
Good. That's really good. That's really encouraging.
Really
to
good.
hear.
So I don't want them to hog all the production. So I'll have some, thank you.
Yeah.
I think from an end user's perspective, this is where I think it's going to get really interested in the coming months, because I've always said throughout this, I think when we come out of what we've been going through, there's going to be those that have and those that haven't. The ones that are going to start opening their curtains in a month or two's time to look at what's happened over the last 12 months, the ones that have really battened down the hatches, I think that they're going to come out of this thinking, hang on a minute, look at what some of my competition have done. They've bought into automation. They've replaced old machines with new ones. They've done the things that maybe I should have done, because I'm now behind and I've got to catch up. So I wonder whether as an industry we'll see almost like a tandem investment, companies that haven't and they now realise they need to, and the ones that have are doing well, so they'll continue to invest as well. So it could become a really busy time for industry. Well, the microphone just almost fell out.
Yeah, I think you're right there, Paul. It could be, but I have my worries that, I've never, ever been a believer in battening down the hatches. No. And I've been through quite a few. We went through the Twin Towers horror. We went through various recessions. The Lehman Brothers put us in a really tight spot, didn't they?
Just a bit, yeah.
And I've never been a believer in batting down the hatches. You have to go out and face the music. When that wind comes at you, you just look at it straight and you make it work. And you carry on investing, you carry on training. I've had an enormous amount of training in the last 12 months to my staff. What a fantastic time to do it. And, if you're prepared, if you're ready as a company to come out and take your curtains down to one side and say, I'm back open for business, and you haven't got that resources behind you, or you haven't got the facilities, you're in trouble. And so I think that's really where we've actually fared. And I've seen it time and time again. After the Lehman Brothers, I went from a £7 million company to a £30 million company inside 8 months. It was just because we were prepared, and we're prepared this time as well.
Were you prepared to invest in another live event on the back of, straight after we finished, you said, we've got to do another one of these when the time is right. So, it just shows that, you're pushing out that investment to other, machine tool companies to a certain extent that want to buy the best kit available and actually move forward.
And I think there are these engineers out there that do, engineers, they like nice cars, they like nice machines, they like nice toys, and I mean that in the literal sense. They really do like investing in things, and I do think that whatever opinions are on the government over the recent year, I do think that some of the schemes that they've introduced have been really good to help companies, de-risk investment, and certainly with what DMG MORI are doing on their finance side as well. We keep saying it, but really this is the time to start making those changes, because there probably will not be a better time, like you say, inflation and things happening. I think it's so important. I think it's one of the messages I'd like to certainly get across in the coming 2 days as well. Gentlemen, I think we're gonna wrap this one up for now, this podcast, and encourage people to go across to our YouTube channel to watch the live event. If you're listening to this today on the 22nd of February, be tuned in tomorrow from 10:30, and of course Wednesday as well at 10:30. If you are listening to this post the event, you can find all of what happened over the next couple of days on our YouTube channel or on any of our social media platforms. Steve, looking forward to seeing you tomorrow, and thank you very much for joining us on this podcast. Mark, yourself, looking forward to being on the sofa with you too. Let's hope for a good couple of days and some more sales for you, Steve, out at the end of it.
Yes, thanks very much, Paul and Mark. I think that the interesting thing is we can keep the market informed about who we are, what we're doing, and I think that'd be good for them.
And we'll certainly be doing that.
Great platform to do it as well.
Yeah, in abundance. Thank you very much, gentlemen. And that's it for this week's MTD CNC podcast.
Thanks for listening to the MTD podcast. If you found value in this episode, please subscribe and leave a rating and review. Find more episodes on MTDCNC.com.